Yo guys, welcome back to another video. OP11 comes out over here in Japan in a few days as of recording this video. So I wanted to make a quick little fun tier list video, like an early prediction tier list video that's pre-bans, because after Worlds we're gonna get the ban announcement and then things are gonna shift. I don't know when it will go into effect, so my guess is, like, obviously Worlds is after OP11 already comes out, so we're gonna have at least like 2-3 weeks, potentially even like a month or longer before these bans go into effect. So I want to just kind of make like a early prediction of what I think the first few weeks to a month of OP11 is going to look like, and then we'll make another one after the bans have been announced or implemented, and just kind of see like what will change. But that's it. We're just gonna do that for this video, so let's jump in and let's get started. Alright, so as you can see, I have like what I consider like kind of meta contenders with some potential spicy picks in there. And then I have the OP11 and also EBO2 green purple Luffy leader at the bottom. We'll do those ones last. The tiers just go in 1, 1.5, 2, 3, and then like a spice or like promising or has like shown weirdly good potential for from a few like really good players, or just like might have a small shot at being like a really spicy come up leader or something, but I'm not really sure. As far as the tiers go, I think it's pretty simple, right? 1, 1.5, 2 is gonna be like basically, I think I would like to probably qualify like down to 2 is something that you could see like top at a regional if it's a really good player, and then 3 is going to be more of like a local hero kind of thing, maybe might pop up and win a flagship or something. But really 1 and 1.5 I think are going to be like the main contenders for the meta in the OP11 format. So let's just jump in, let's get started here. I think Dofi, like I mean I think he just stays tier 1 for now. There's a world where I think Dofi goes to 1.5, especially like after the bans. After the bans, Dofi could drop however far down. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I think he's still tier 1. Teach is in a little bit of a weird position because green purple Luffy is really strong against Teach. Even if you tech for him, I think it's still winning for green purple Luffy. So I'm not entirely sure. I'll put him in 1.5 right now, but he could be tier 1. We'll see. Maybe I'll just keep him up here for now because he's really strong. BY I think really depends on how well Blackbeard is doing, because right now in this current meta we're seeing a big influx of stuff like Lucci to tackle the green purple Luffy problem, and because of that you're actually seeing a little bit more BY pop up as well. Just because people are saying that he has a good matchup into GP, which I think, in my mind, I still kind of can see green purple Luffy beating BY. I think they just need more time to get used to the matchup. But I mean, you could maybe call it 50-50 for now, which is strong enough, right? So definitely putting him at tier 1.5, but it matters a lot how much Teach is there, because it's hard for Luffy. You can learn the matchup and you can tech for Teach a little bit, but it's still kind of hard for him at the end of the day. Lucci, will put him at 1.5. Again, this is not a EBO2 tier list. This is just like what I think the OP11 meta is going to look like. So we will start factoring a lot of different things in when we introduce the OP11 leaders. But for now, I'm just going to like lightly place everyone where I think they might be. I think Smoker is strong like Lucci. He has 1.5 potential. Pluffy, really strong. Usopp has fallen off quite a bit. I think he just struggles against stuff like GP Luffy. And then Shanks has kind of been coming up too a little bit in the meta because he has a strong matchup against green purple Luffy. So like 2 of his worst matchups there, kind of like being high in the meta, it just makes it a little bit hard. Like he might even be tier 3, but I think he's tier 2able for now. Running Green Smoker, kind of a similar thing. I know he did win the Japanese Nats recently, but it's mostly just because he has a good matchup into green purple Luffy. But with stuff like Lucci and BY up in the meta right now, I think it's a little bit harder. But he is a strong leader and always has potential, right? Enel, I'll just keep them kind of where they're kind of like closer to where they're at now, and then we'll shift things for what I think the OP11 meta will look like. Law is good at 3. It's kind of like these 3 guys right here just all have like a similar kind of struggle. Bonnie I think is at 1.5 right now just because she has such a good matchup into green purple Luffy. And Shanks similarly, we'll just put him here for now. Boa, I think, struggles a lot against green purple Luffy, which is really unfortunate. I think she was doing really well in the OP10 meta and late OP9 meta, but just struggles a lot more now. Reiju, this is going to be for OP11. I'm just going to put her up here. Red purple Luffy, I'll put him at 2 for now, and he might go up because we'll have to see. Yamato, actually pretty decent spot right now. Oddly enough, is pretty strong into green purple Luffy, just because if you run the supernova build, and has a much better matchup into Dofi now that we have like double searcher for the OP10 cards made the supernova build a lot more stable for Yamato, and Enel still being in the meta makes it a little bit difficult, but Yamato like can beat Teach decent enough into Dofi, and then has an actual pretty decent matchup into green purple Luffy, because a lot of Luffy's run a lot of counterless, and Hody being able to rest the Dawn for Giant and going for game is just invaluable in that matchup. This Luffy, I normally don't really rate this Luffy very highly, but I think there might be some weird spice with that new Garp, the new ACOS Garp card that synergizes really well with this leader. I think could be very strong into stuff like blue purple Luffy. So just let me cook for a second. I'm gonna put him in spice for now. Vegapunk I think is a very strong leader right now too. Just the aggro version got such a boost with the new 5-cost Vegapunk blocker that searches out another and plays another scientist type character. So yeah, I think he's really strong. Gonna put him in tier 2. Green blue Rosinante I think has been a spice lord as of late, but folds the black a bit, which is unfortunate. I think yellow and black he has a little bit of a struggle against. Red green Odin has won some flagships recently, and the new Yamato, new 6-cost Yamato is just so strong. Like honestly, I could put him up here. I think he's getting better results than all of these leaders, you know. So maybe I will. I'll leave him here. I might move him to spice. We'll see. Freaking red green Chopper, which I never thought I would be putting him up here on this tier list right now, but like Tsuki Usagi-san has been cooking with him, and a few other people have been kind of making this work in the EBO2 format, which is crazy. Really cool to see. Chopper's fun. He's a really cool leader, and I think with the new like Chopper Man card and just like the current meta the way it is just really strong. Blue green Sanji I think just has some spice, so I'm gonna put him there. I don't know if this is how strong any of these actually are, like, or will be into the meta, but I think we're worth mentioning. And okay, now we can start shifting things around, right? So I think Nami, after testing Nami a bit and playing her and playing against her, and I still have a lot of builds that I need to try out. Nami's not tier 0. She's definitely not tier 0. She's not as like crazy strong as we thought she might be. Yes, her leader effect is good, and like it can be kind of annoying, but honestly it's similar to Shanks, where it's just like if you learn how to swing the right numbers, it's not as bad. Like if you swing 7k, Nami still has to give you 2 cards, right? And it's just hard for her to like get rid of your board while establishing a board of her own, and it's hard for her to set up kind of like the characters that she needs to try and finish out the game. But that being said, I do think she's very strong, and I'm probably gonna put her at 1.5. I'm gonna put her at 1.5 for now. I'm not sure where. I don't know if I'm gonna like, order these in like order of strength, so for now consider these basically unordered. Blue purple Luffy, this boy is strong. I think he's stronger than I was expecting, just because of cards like ACOS Katakuri. That card is broken in this deck because it's so crazy that it lets you restand up to 2, because if you have Katakuri and Big Mom, you can restand both of them. It's essentially 7-cost Kid on steroids, and that card is just incredibly strong. It works really well in blue purple Luffy, and without even just that card, I think he would not be anywhere near as good as he's going to be. But with stuff like the ACOS blue Luffy, ACOS purple Katakuri, and just the synergies you can do with stuff like 9-cost Mom, he's a force to be reckoned with, and I think he's really strong. I think Luffy is going to be tier 1 for me. There's still some stuff that I need to see or test out myself. I do think he can struggle against black still. It just depends how well you can hit your 9-cost Sanjis, in my opinion, in that matchup, or if you're running 9-cost Luffy for the extra rush. And I do think you can struggle into stuff like Teach, because yes, you can bounce their Burgess with 8-cost Luffy, but you're not getting the extra value with stuff like 9-cost Sanji. And unless you can establish essentially multiple 8-cost Katakuris and find your giants and your counter and stuff on time, I think it can be a little bit of a struggle. I'm not sure. I've seen the matchup kind of go both ways, and I think it's going to take a lot of time for all the decks. To me, Blue Purple Luffy is like Teach when he came out in OP9. At first, it just seems like everyone loses to him. He's like a broken, crazy, overpowered deck. But then people play the matchup, they learn the matchup, they learn how to tech for him, and they learn how to play against him. And then all of a sudden, this seemingly broken deck is just really, really powerful and not broken, right? I think to me, Blue Purple Luffy is going to kind of be that leader of this format. And once you start teching for him, it's going to make things a little bit harder for Luffy. I do think, obviously, stuff like Hody, being able to rest his characters, and Dawn is extremely powerful, and stuff like 9-cost Zoro. A lot of Bonnie players, including myself out here over in Japan, are already thinking about just playing 2 to 4 Zoro for this matchup if he is high enough in the meta, because a lot of the Blue Purple Luffy lists have opted to take out removal in order for them to add in more of the ramp and counter cards. So most lists aren't even running Red Rock right now. And if you're not running Red Rock and we play 9-cost Zoro as Bonnie and we can survive, it's becomes favored in my opinion for Bonnie. But yeah, for now, I think he's going to be tier 1. And I think he can struggle against stuff like Green Purple Luffy for sure. Dofi may be a little bit easier to handle because the bodies Dofi's is getting out on the board are slightly weaker, and they don't have stuff like 6-cost Luffy that can just swing 7+K multiple times per turn. But I'm not really sure where he's going to land, and we'll adjust things as we move on here too. So next we have Shirahoshi. I have built out Shirahoshi. I've been testing her, and she's surprisingly strong. I don't know where she lands, and the problem is, like, playing against Blue Purple Luffy, I think it's unfavored, mostly just because unfortunately, like Uroko, the 6-cost 8K Sea King that you can play off of leader effect, which is really, really strong, is within range for Big Mom to hit. And I don't know if you have the space to run stuff like Tashigi and Shirahoshi, so you might have to do something like that. But essentially, it seems like most of the meta leaders have like ways to kind of deal with your board. But like I played against Nami once with Shirahoshi, and I was able to spam well enough that she couldn't handle my board. I played against my friend using Black Smoker, and it was actually way closer than we were expecting. And I didn't even have Hody or anything in the build. So I think if you add in 6-cost Jinbei and 7-cost Hody, you have a much better chance against stuff like Black or Blue Purple Luffy. I just did like a standard Sea King, just like Shirahoshi tech, kind of like cards for her kind of build. Even that just like kind of vanilla list was really, really strong. But I don't know how strong she's going to be, but I would put her probably up here in tier 2. Like, Shirahoshi is surprisingly strong. I'm not just coping. This isn't cope. I think she's actually pretty strong. Kobe, my boy, Kobe. The Kobe is a little unfortunate here just because he's strong, but I think he kind of struggles against aggro, and I think he struggles against Blue Purple Luffy. So and Dofi and GP Luffy are aggro, and Blue Purple Luffy is Blue Purple Luffy. So yeah, I think he's gonna, I don't know, this one's really hard. He's kind of in like the waiting room for like a different meta or just more support, because it's hard to get his combos off while still maintaining resources and being able to get an advantage against your opponent. Sometimes it's incredibly strong, like if you have a character 2 on board, you play dull and minus the power of something, and then, you know, honesty impact or just swing over it. Kobe is a very versatile and cool leader that I think there are a lot of ways to build for him, which makes it hard to kind of judge his true potential right now, partly. Like Blue Purple Luffy, there's a lot of ways to build him, but we know we know what he does. Like the game plan is the same basically for any of his builds. So it's kind of easy to see like what he wants to do and how strong his like full potential is there. Kobe is a little bit more ambiguous where there's tons of ways to build him, but we also don't know exactly what the correct plan is for at least like this upcoming meta. So I'm just going to put him here in tier 2, I guess. Not sure where he would stand. Probably above Shirahoshi or about the same, if I'm being honest. Purple Katakuri is weird because he seems like he has a lot of strengths, and like honestly the 2-cost Katakuri into the 8-cost Katakuri is really, really strong, and the 10-cost Mom is really, really strong, the new purple one. But it also just feels like it's similar to Kobe, where like he has strong moves, he has strong cards, but he kind of just falls off or like falls short a little bit. With some of the things that he like wants to do or just can't keep up. I think the thing with Kobe and the thing I think with Purple Kata is probably going to be like they just can't keep up with the more top tier leaders. And I could be wrong about this one, so hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll put him here in tier 3 for now. Jinbei. Jinbei is the new leader that I've put most of my time and effort into, and of thinking and building and practicing. And he's pretty strong. He's really strong. 6-cost Jinbei is an amazing card. Jinbei is similar to Kobe, where like it's really hard to kind of like figure out his list, but also like what's his game plan. Because you can go for like kind of a more low to the ground aggro approach, but you can also run stuff like 10-cost Dofi. You can run 9-cost Shanks. There's even 8-cost Kid versions. So it's really, really hard to get a grasp on like what he actually wants to do. So because of that, I think he's going to be a leader that might take a second to kind of watch the meta, see what it does, and then adjust from there. But he's very, very strong, and I like him, and I'll definitely be playing him in OP11. I'm trying to see, I think you could put him at the tail end of tier 1.5 maybe. We might need to come in here and kind of clean things up. But let's get through the last leader here. Green Purple Luffy. This is he took the world by storm. He surprised everybody. I don't think anybody expected him to be as powerful as he has proven himself to be. Which is really crazy, because normally we can get a read like when we see Blue Purple Luffy leader effect, we're like, dang, that might be really strong. But when we saw a GP, it was like, that seems costly, like I don't think it's gonna be very good. And even when we already saw Sanji and Pudding, the 5-cost, we were like, what deck is this even for? Like, yeah, I guess it kind of works in GP Luffy, but then you play it and you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. So he is, in my opinion, I don't even know if this is a hot take or not. I think he's gonna be the best deck in format for OP11, especially if Blue Purple Luffy can't figure out a way to beat him consistently. Because I do think this GP Luffy in general is favored against Blue Purple Luffy, and I do think Blue Purple Luffy is going to be one of, if not the top, like one of the top contenders for the OP11 format. And GP Luffy also beats Dofi, also beats Teach. Like he struggles into decks like Red Green Smoker or Bonnie or the KO version of Shanks, potentially even like an aggro version of Reiju. I think Jinbei might be able to handle him pretty well, but again, and potentially BY and a little bit Lucci, right? But all these leaders, and it sounds like I'm listing out a bunch of leaders, and I am, but the problem is like all those 1.5 tier 2 leaders that do well into Luffy struggle into some of, at least one of, if not multiple of the other top tier contenders, which is the same kind of like stranglehold that Teach had on the meta for a while, where it's like, yes, Teach loses to Dofi, but all the other decks that beat him were essentially too far down in the meta to really matter that much. And now Green Purple Luffy has a similar problem, but it's a much better situation because he beats Dofi, or is at least 50-50 into Dofi, right? Depending on your build and depending on the player. But that's great. That means he's like in Teach's position, but even better, right? Where it's like you probably, as we know for now, beat these other top 3 leaders that are in the tier 1 like potential, and then you 50-50 are losing to some of your 1.5 tier counterparts, which is a pretty good position. So in my mind, that's the logic I'm using, and that's why I'm going to put Green Purple Luffy as the best deck in format, at least for like the first part of OP11. Could definitely be wrong. I think one of the big key factors is going to be how high up in the meta Black is, and whether or not Black can beat Blue Purple Luffy. Because if Black can beat Blue Purple Luffy, then I think they have a good shot. It's going to be kind of similar to Teach, where like if Teach can kind of beat Blue Purple Luffy, then he's just going to kind of stay in the same spot. But now he has like 2 bad matchups in the top tier, which is why I think he might drop to tier 1.5. And I'm probably going to keep him here. I think this is fair. This might be fair. This is interesting. Let's see if I can do this. This is going to be roughly ordered. And the problem is I think Enel might drop off because I think Enel loses to Green Purple Luffy. I think he loses to Blue Purple Luffy. And I think he struggles into enough of the other 1.5 leaders like Bonnie, Lucci, Blackbeard, Pluffy. KO Shanks has a decent chance against Enel. Like, I think, yeah, I'm gonna put him down here. I'm gonna put Enel as like the tier 2 gatekeeper. I could see something like this. I don't really see Nami jumping up to tier 1. Not really sure about that. Yeah, I think these are pretty solid. And then let's talk about Reiju. So Reiju, I think, has a lot of potential in the OP11 format, because I do think she has a little bit of this like this, you know, she can turbo pretty hard, and if you turbo hard enough, I think you can beat stuff like Blue Purple Luffy, and I think you can beat Green Purple. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think she's going to kind of come back up just a little bit in the meta, and she has a shot at kind of like sparking that kind of like jumping into the 1.5 tier position there. So all of you Reiju stands out there, maybe rejoice, because I do think she's actually going to be pretty strong in OP11. Not quite sure yet though, so we'll have to see. I don't think there's much else I would change here. You can consider this roughly ordered. I would consider this roughly ordered at the moment, so you can take that with like a grain of salt or however you want. You can do this. I think Vegapunk struggles in a Green Purple Luffy, so it's a little bit harder for him at the moment. Red Purple Luffy, the reason I put him in tier 2 and why I think he has a solid shot is because I think with the right build, I think Red Purple Luffy can be strong against stuff like Nami, GP Luffy, and potentially Blue Purple Luffy, but I need to test and study that matchup more, so I'm not really sure. But he's, you know, another 6k leader that's pretty strong. I don't think I can do Katakuri like this. I think we should do this. Yeah, here. I'm gonna do this. There you go. There you go. I think that's much more like evened out and fair. I think this is how I would adjust things to kind of like try and make it more fair and what it might be. I also need to test out the Yamato versus Blue Purple Luffy matchup, so that'll be interesting. And I can see it going either way, just because of Yamato being able to get you down to 1 life and then pressing for game. But with 9-cost Mom and 8-cost Katakuri, if Luffy can just kind of survive long enough, I think it will become favored for Luffy. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that's it. This is probably where I would leave everything. I think this is where I would put everything. Take everything with a grain of salt. This is a pre-bans predictive tier list for OP11. The tiers are roughly ordered. You could definitely change a few things around here and there, but I'm not really 100% sure. And I could be wrong. Like, I'm throwing a bone to like Kobe and Shirahoshi and Purple Kata, just because I've seen some of their potential and I think it's really strong. And it all depends kind of like how well Blue Purple Luffy does and how well like Teach can kind of do back into the meta like that. I do think Jinbei has a lot of potential. He's just really strong, but again, like so many factors, like everything comes down to like these certain key matchups or like other factors that are going to influence how everything else plays out. So if I had to just take a guess, I would put everything kind of like in this, where I think Green Purple Luffy is going to be essentially kind of like the best deck in format. But even Blue Purple Luffy has a shot at becoming best deck in format. It's just going to depend on how that matchup goes, in my opinion. And yeah, we'll see. But if you're a green player, I think you're in a good spot, because if those are the top 3 leaders, then I think green always has tools to beat those leaders, or at least get those matchups to 50-50. So that's really nice. So I will definitely be playing Bonnie, Jinbei, and Yamato in OP11. I will be playing Nami too for fun, and I will be playing Shirahoshi as well. I don't know how much time I'm going to invest in Nami and Shirahoshi, but I will be testing them out and have them as decks that I can play to help my friends test and everything. But yeah, that's it. This is the tier list. Let me know what you think. If there's a leader I forgot or anything, I'm sorry. I might throw Kid in here. I'll throw him a bone. Let me just double check. Yeah, I don't want to make things too complicated. I did throw Kid in here though. I did throw Kid in here. But that's going to be it. That's going to be the tier list. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. These are fun for me to make. We'll make another one after the bans are announced and see what happens to the meta then. But just for now, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And I do play over on Twitch 2 to 3 times a week at Fudelio TCG, so catch me over there. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.